Yeah. We strive to engage in respectful discourse during our meetings and ask that the public comment speakers keep that in mind. And speakers should introduce themselves for the record. So there's nobody in the room for public comment. Do we have anybody online?
Don't pay just
All right.
I'm worried.
We will move to the next session. We are going to move to executive session. Do you need a motion?
Yes.
Sort of just pursuant to.
Yes, so, motion. I will make a motion to adjourn to executive session to return to open session afterwards. Pursuant to Mass General Law C 30A, Section 21A3. To discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with AFSCME if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the committee as declared by the chair.
I'll second.
In favor of the roll call vote. Yes.
Yes.
Mark.
Yes. Yes.
So we'll move to executive session and then return to open session.
We are back.
We now return to open session. We have a motion to approve the memorandum of agreement between AFSCME and the Milton School Committee for the period of 7/1/2025 through 6/30/2026.
Second.
Those in favor?
That was me.
Roll call. A roll call. Cindy, roll call.
No, we don't
Yeah.
have to roll.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone. Great, finance subcommittee report.
Yes, we had finance subcommittee meeting last Wednesday, talked further about the update to the projected deficit for FY20 within FY25. What that number is, where it kind of came from, what we're going to expect things associated with that. And we talked about that for a while. We also talked about moving into FY26. Numbers mean a bit. What are the concerns? We talked about FY26 calendar, what we want to do, how we want to coordinate with other boards and things like that. Make sure that that is we're improving on that process. Every year, we further talked a bit about the reporting stuff, but we waited. We didn't dive into it too much. We're looking forward to getting your input on that. Sorry. No, you're fine. I just like out of factor. I'm blaming you. We just ran out of time. Management of the meeting. Yeah, I'm also pulling up my notes just to make sure that I'm not forgetting something. We talked a bit about the state funding timeline too. Just that it still has not come through unless the exchange since last Wednesday. So still waiting on pins and needles for that information.
We did just get a note from the business official saying that the conference committee released their final report to allocate the fiscal year 25 supplemental budget. So that was just updated. That just came in a few minutes ago. So that's good news progress.
No, in general, we got to figure out some of the trying to coordinate when to go in front of the one committee. Because we need to make an official request for the funding that is allocated to from the one committee to have been allocated to the school department. So that's in the purview. They do that for any department in town. So that's obviously what we asked the money for. That's what they were expecting, but we schedule that. Get it. So
think the only other thing was the conversation around role of HR, kind of really that need that this, as this goes on and where we are seeing some of the budget issues really points to the need for HR role that will really help moving forward. I think having that vacancy doesn't help anything. So really just kind of points to the urgency in filled on an interim basis and we're having it as it's not a full-time position, but I think having somebody in there, I think is essential, and that will really, I think, help with the FY26 budget.
There been progress on the tri-board? So I watched the select board meeting and just some of the information going on, that's very different than the like original meeting we had with them, which is fine. They had a first draft of like talking through it as a select board. They seem to be moving forward with the idea of having a planning board member. They're not pushing back on that at all, so it seems like that will happen. They also talked to their meeting about having a community member as a part of it. Something we originally talked about, and the sense from that initial conversation from the reps of the select board there was no, rechanging, which is fine. So I think that's something that will require them to find that they want to have public rep, like you're always talking about one person that's mutually agreed upon, it's two, and so in their meeting, and they said they were enough. And so it's going to follow the rules. Reach out. It's happened. So that is, they had an initial reading though on it. And even when they were talking about the public member, they were talking about that person being a non-voting member. But all the members are non-voting because there's no vote on within the committee. So like there were some things within that conversation that honestly confused me a little bit. And so I followed up with them. Yeah. Directly, just to make sure we're still very aligned on the purpose of those things. Yeah. Okay. They did also talk about this. Have in the initial creation, they want to have a in date in terms of the committee, reevaluate that this committee is working, it's accomplishing its mission, or it should be adjusted in some way, not just have it moving for the team. So the initial discussion, at least at the last meeting, wasn't be the term. Select board can determine whether to continue or change it. That's it. We do have a vendor warrant. So I just don't see them really motions. Sign one last. Yeah. Okay, if I forwarded it, I would. That's a good one now.
Yeah, we voted. 11.
So it's probably been one.
Yeah, it did. Yes.
Okay. All right. All right, I will make a motion to approve vendor warrant 48. Dated 6/12/2025 in the amount of $891,715.35. Questions on that? All in favor? Thank you. That's it for finance.
Okay, so we met a week ago, on June 9th, was John's first meeting. It was great, made introductions all around. In terms of, we got a report from the Consolidated Facilities Director, Tom McCarthy. He, in terms of the Cunningham 4th movers are coming Friday, June 20th. So right as soon as school ends, to pack up everything that's not going to be needed prior to the completion. He talked about some other things that they did, like kitchen floor at the Pierce will be replaced with an epoxy floor that will be a little bit more durable and more cost effective than repairing it. It, and then the other thing that they're looking at doing is upgrading the sound system at the high school, which should be done over the summer. There are some, they're repaving some sections of the high school in the back of Tucker, and there's some, they might be able to also get Pierce done as well if there's money available. We did have our first guest at the last facilities meeting. Alex Hashad was part of the Climate Action Planning Committee, the chair of that committee, so he was at our meeting and he was very much interested in looking at being in part of the conversation on our HVAC upgrades that we have to do. So Tom has been working with a company called Guardian Energy Management, and they give us a proposal for Glover. Obviously, it's very pricey, and Alice kind of shared what he does for the committee and his committee, and that there are incentive programs available and things that we can look at, and grants as well. So we had a good discussion about that. We also discussed about that there are a lot, he said that in 2022 that Massachusetts had passed a lawsuit that would get our emissions down to 0 by 2050. So he said that he kind of talked about looking for ways to electrify and identify ways to add more to the grid. And he also talked about his how they meet monthly and kind of put the cell on what he wanted to do on our committee. So anyway, it was good. Then we talked about things that we could look at for next year, including the outdoor spaces that we had started having a conversation about. So bringing another John in the mix and bringing kind of having those conversations at all the schools so that we can be more equitable in terms of what we end up doing and us being part of that conversation. And then we should be receiving updates, progress updates for the planning board for over the summer. So I will share that with you. Follow along. So that's it.
Thanks. And I think we still need to appoint somebody to that committee, to Alex's committee.
And that was, so Nick gave me an update that they had a couple of applicants.
And I think part of that just for our summer retreat, we're going to talk about how the process of bringing on new members and kind of reaffirm existing ones. They want to continue to accept that. So,
Where it fits, but just a shout out to the Tucker Mural and
Oh, yeah.
facility.
Yeah.
Thank you. Facebook.
Have you seen it?
Saw a picture of.
So cool. And not for nothing, but Lee Baird, the artist, who's like a very serious, well-known artist in Boston. Having attended a couple of the community sessions, I've heard him speak before, but at the unveiling, his I wish it would have been recorded because his heartfelt comments on his experience being part of the Checker community over the past couple of months was just really poignant. And it was really nice to hear him as someone who had never spent time in Milton before, wasn't familiar with any of our schools. Just the way he talked about Mrs. Woolley, first of all, our teacher, the amazing job that she did, and just the students and sort of how thoughtful and creative they were. And he worked really hard to incorporate their ideas. And anyway, I know he would have all been really proud to hear how he spoke about it. It was very complimentary. And yeah, it's awesome. Thing to happen.
Mark School Building Committee.
Yeah, I have some updates, but I was late to the school building committee, so it was.
Yeah, you can give a recap. Can we
Please.
start with that?
Yeah. You go for it.
It was a pretty brief process oriented kind of meeting. Sean kind of walked us through where we're at in the MSBA module 1, which is at the beginning, that we're still. I don't know if the select board has appointed their representative to the school building committee, but that needed to happen in order for us to progress along. So we went through that. We approved a survey of land that needs to happen as part of the land swap. So just approved some capital allocation to that. Went over the project timeline. I mean, I think, and I might fudge some of these details because it was my first meeting, so I was like taking a lot in.
Yeah.
But the timeline is very tight. To move through the MSBA modules, work with an architect, and not run out of time before the land swap basically gets reverted. So that was like a big takeaway from the project timeline discussion. And that was essentially the crux of the meeting. Maybe yeah.
Yeah, just in module 1, when the creation of the school building committee, technically else, you know, in 60 days, the select board did vote to, yeah, one to May, to do that. So they've done that. We're gonna do our vote here in a sec, to finish off that stuff, once we checked, there was the ICC, we voted on that. Month ago, whatever. Educational profile is next thing, which, John and I had initial conversations on this, sharing the changes before, Dr. Reddy. And maintenance stuff. So. So what's happening, but yeah, the reverted process, big one, just the amount of time it's taking us to. Slow down the speed. Yeah, which was supposed to the original vote for school building, building spot. So it does bring us to the motion, which is essentially we need to approve. We need to appoint 3 non-voting members and staff, John, Katie, and John Redden, to the school building committee. These were positions that were created with the vote that town meeting took. We created these 3. Katie is one as the MCPO member, John, superintendent, and then principal. Seems like an SBA requires the principal to be the school that was cited. Bill Fish previously been pretty involved in like some of the planning stuff, talking about upper middle school. But an SBA, given it's the cutting edge project in their eyes, it's for now, it needs to be Dr. Redden, that's why we just picked. At some point that changes, then obviously that we can committee to appoint somebody else. Obviously, it doesn't prevent any other member of the school staff from being involved in it's fit. It's questions on it. Then I will make a motion to approve the appointment of Superintendent John Balin, Assistant Superintendent Anthony Blake, and Cunningham Principal Dr. John Redden to the school building committee as non-voting members. All in favor? That's it for school building.
Next, we just have the minutes of the June 4th meeting. Third live. So we just need to.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the June 4th, 2025 Milton School Committee meeting.
All in favor?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Maureen.